Shalom, called Yahweh Shem Shah. Shalom to the left. That's just a quick video. I was looking at some news clips as usual, and I happened to stumble across this video right here and queued it up. I'm gonna play that in a minute, but let me go to this preset and then I'll let this video play. And before I start, you got people that still think this book is like written by just average men. I was looking at some online, and I just happened to hear a certain individual mention this, when clearly all these prophecies is actually mentioned in this book are actually coming to fruition right now. And then you have somebody say, oh, well, they wrote the book, they can orchestrate these events too. Don't give Esau that much damn credit. They smart, but they ain't that damn smart. Anyway, it says Babylon's fall is certain, because you were glad, because you rejoice, for you destroyers of my heritage, because you have grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nation shall be a wilderness. And when the hindermost is talking about over here, if you travel around the earth, you go from east to west, this is the hindermost place when you're going toward the west. Now it says, a dry land and a desert, because of the wrath of Yahweh, it should not be inhabited, but it should be wholly desolate. Everyone that goes by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord. Now, why would people be astonished and hiss at all the plagues? This is why.
The most visible name to a new era of warfare. Everybody's developing them. We have India crash testing its hypersonic version of the BrahMos. French, British, the Americans did have some limited success a decade ago, and they still seem to be struggling. But the people out in front, the Russians and the Chinese, they have actively fielded hypersonic weapons.
I see the Most High putting the spirit on these nations to speed they shit up. Meanwhile, Esau can't keep up.
North Korea, technically it's a hypersonic missile. Has it got the ability to be able to maneuver?
And before I go into this video some more, just to back up what I'm saying. Book of Isaiah chapter 54 verse 16. He putting the spirit on these actual individuals to do this, these scientists. That's why when that event took place, I want to say what year? I want to say it was like last year, at the beginning of the year. And then another event took place when they was going for the general and the scientists. Why was they going for the scientists? Because they know the scientist is the one that helped come up with this instrument right here. They could have went for anybody else. They could have went for a lieutenant or sergeant or whatever, admiral, to make a statement. They wanted to get that scientist out of the way. They wanted to get that smith out of the way. I said, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. What instrument is that? These right here. Now it says, instrument for his work, and I have created the spoiler to destroy. And this don't look like not too pleasant, right?
In the atmosphere, and also hit it into the target. A hypersonic missile is anything that moves faster than 5 times the speed of sound. It's fast, sure, but it takes an unpredictable path. Diving from outer space back into the atmosphere, taking a random path towards its target, so it can effectively trick any defenses that have been set up to start with.
Пусть посчитают дальность и скорость наших перспективных систем оружия.
It's always been the United States and or Russia or the Soviet Union back in the day that were producing these new weapons, new advances in technology. Whereas now, you've seen China out in front, and they seem to have leapfrogged over various layers of traditional technology and invested in this and produce something that's a practical weapon that can be used.
General Mark Milley earlier today compared China's hypersonic weapons test with implements. I think what he was conveying was the concern we all have about China's military modernization efforts.
We should worry about all armed forces, but we have countries that are not being limited, and you have to ask yourself what kind of fail-safes are in place. So the more of these weapons out there, the more likely at some stage there will be a miscalculation of what they think their opponent's going to do.
Alright, that's all. I don't want to stretch this video out too long. The reason why they're going to be hypersonic, because this prophecy right here in the book of Revelation. Get it real quick. Same book of Revelation, chapter 18. Let's see, where I want to start at. I'm starting at verse 9, just read on down. It says, "And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her." And why? Because once this take place, it doesn't never back. Ain't gonna be no more trade routes and none of that shit coming over here. God says, "And lament for her, and when they shall see the smoke of her burning standing afar off, for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come." Oh, hey, these hypersonic missiles can go up out of space and come back down and reach their target, depending on the range, within 30 minutes. Go look it up. Just take my word for it. I did my homework. Now it says, in verse 11, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep, mourn over her." So like it says, "For no man buy the merchandise anymore." And this place not gonna be able to buy no merchandise anymore. Everything coming from China, Europe, some other places. Diamonds and stuff from Africa and all that, gold and all that. Ain't nobody gonna buy it over here, because they're not gonna be over here. It says, "The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all Diane wood and all manners of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and oils and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men and the fruits of thy soul that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. And all things which were identity and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all." And you read the book of 2 Peter, it say all the elements shall melt with fervent heat. All this stuff is considered element, whether it be wood, brass, iron, marble, cinnamon, whatever, silk, scarlet. Those are elements. Hey, flesh is on the list too. Now it says, "The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off, for fear of torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple, scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. Every shipmaster and all the company of ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city?" And that's what's going to happen. So, if they wrote this book, or whoever people like to say wrote this book, because they be mad, because it contradict with the bullshit they be on, and they just don't want to face reality. They want to live in the metaverse and shit. This is going to happen. The instrument is created. It's already here. Ain't like it's some myth and you just say, oh, well, book Isaiah and Jeremiah is talking about nukes, and ain't nobody in the news talking about nukes. Every other day, and I got another video queued up. I'm going to pull up in another video I'm going to make. But at least every other day, that's all they talking about. Like this other video right here. Let me scroll down. They talk about EU and NATO crossing red lines. Now, we're going to get into that. Because there's some other stuff behind that as well. And I want to mention a few precepts I want to pull. So I ain't going to stretch this out too much longer. They here and they ready to use them. The only way they're going to use them is when prophecy be fulfilled all the way. When the charagma that you know what get put in people. Then they actually initiated this Third World War, and it's in the beginning stages right now. So I just want to bring this out. I don't want to versus this is edifying. Call all your how about Shem Shah. Shalom to the left and stay alert.